Hi, my name is Brian, and I'm the HiPop Professor. Once again today, we have a stack of cards that we're going to go ahead and take a very close look at to see whether or not they are worthy, grade worthy, of sending into PSA in my next submission order that will likely once again be through GameStop. So, most of the cards we'll look at are Greg Maddox inserts, other inserts from the 90s, and where it makes sense, if we can go ahead and recreate similar lighting conditions, take a look at them, pick them apart with our magnifying glass, our jeweler's loupe, and really just try to, run it through the gauntlet, run it, through the ringer, see if these cards are truly grade worthy, and if they'd come back 9s or 10s, let's go ahead and send it in. It makes financial sense to do so. That's fantastic. That's what we're looking to do. This video is also to document what kind of grade condition these cards are in, to sort of cover my bases, and if something comes back from PSA with damage on it that wasn't there when we sent it, well, we have video evidence and proof that this was the state of the card at the time of submission. So it's also a CYA in that sort of event too. So let's go ahead and turn the camera around. We'll take a look at some baseball cards. We'll pick them apart and have a blast doing so. Now we got it. It's past critical mass now. Whew. And some of these never gets old peeling these 90s cards. Okay. And look at this beautiful pristine surface. Ooh, yeah. That's what we likey. You always have to go kind of slow with these, because the amount of force required to actually peel these things is surprisingly substantial. Okay. Whew. All right. Got that one off. Okay. Whew. All right. So let's see what we've got here. If I can get this to focus a little bit better. Now, I remember last time I was able to get this. There we go. Really close. And there's a little dust on there. Or is it just a fiber? No, whatever. It's stuck on the top. And now it's not. Okay. Let's see what we do here. So we'll check a few things. We'll check basically the corners and the edges. And then we'll have to check, oh, that's interesting. So we got a little extra hanging on there. I don't know. It's actually, it's very interesting what that even is. I don't know if that's a little bit extra in the corner. Interesting. We'll have to go back to that one. This corner seems all right. Yeah. And let's check the back. And then, of course, with any of these chromium cards, I mean, really all the cards, but we should check the surface as well. That's where a lot of the stuff is hiding. So, looks pretty good here. Pretty good all the way around. Still like that to be a little bit better focused if we could. And I'm going to experiment a little bit to see if it makes any difference if I put this here. There's that little extra hanging onto that corner. Very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it looks pretty good from what I can tell. Yep. All right, we got to check the surface. We'll check the back surface. Got to check for puck marks. Got to check for scratches, indents, anything like that where we need that light. So many things you really can't see unless it's in the exact light. So I've got a nice bright light here shining. We'll do the same thing on this front. Now again, us having just peeled this, the surface should be, well, it doesn't have to be pristine, but it should at least be scratch-free. We just peeled it. So really, the question is, a card like this, it's not that expensive of a card. I think a PSA 9 for something like this, I don't know, maybe 40, 50 bucks tops. A 10 though would put this probably over $100. And so the question is, if we see a small spot like there's a little tiny spot right there, like on the surface. You know, every other 10 that I've sent in, like in previous videos and previous submissions, there have been little tiny things, like this little extra on the corner here. Like, I don't really understand what's going on. I think you actually saw it better from the front. Yeah, it's like a little extra. It's like, you know, if someone were to want to, you know, very carefully fix that, they probably could. I don't know what tool you would use exactly, but my goodness. Anyway, but I don't do that. So yeah, this one, I think certainly would come back a 9 at minimum. I don't see anything particularly egregious here. It's looking pretty good. Just, yeah, one little extra weird spot. It's a very tiny spot to otherwise what's a nice surface of a card. And then, yeah, just that one little corner that actually has a little bit extra on it. It's not even damaged, what I would say. But yeah, I think that this card, yeah, probably a 9. And I don't think anything less than a 9 would really make sense. So yeah, I'll put this in the probably pile. I think I'll have a maybe pile, a probably yes pile, and then a definitely no pile. So we'll call this probably. Okay, and so we've got one more finest refractor, also from 99, the sterling one. And so let's go ahead and peel it. I'm going to keep that glove off for this peeling process, which turns out way easier to do when you're not wearing gloves. Okay. You know, it's funny to peel and not peel. Yes, he already got this. This is way faster. To peel or not peel, it's kind of a fun debate to have. I know there are some who are going to watch this peeling and just squirm with discomfort. No, you're changing how the card was originally produced. It's like, yeah, but there we go. But if you're playing the grading game, I think it makes a lot of sense. And you can't beat the shine. Look at this. This shine is just tremendous. Look at this card. Okay, now let's take a quick look here. Now I do see there's a little, what is that, a little dimple right over here? Just yeah, 2 dimples looks like, right there and there. Yeah, we got 2 of them. So right there, with those 2 dimples, probably not going to be a 10. I'll see if we can find anything else. And heck, with that other card, perhaps the other extra little bit on the corner. What's that over here? Just a little surface spot. And while we're here, let's go ahead and check the surface. But again, having just peeled this, most of it, we're not looking for scratches like I would be on other cards. We're just looking for anything else that would be untoward. Oh, that's interesting. Is that a scratch? Just peeled it. There's a little thing right there. Interesting. Yeah, right in that purple stripe there. Interesting. Very interesting. I mean, it's tiny anyway, but let's go ahead and flip it over. Now, it's fascinating. This this 99 Finest, the back of this one is not refractored, but the back of this one is. So that's just interesting. Same set, 99 Finest. This is the base, but this one is the Sterling's, or Sterling subset. So interesting. All right, corners look pretty darn good. Yeah. How about the back surface? Looking super clean. You know, and I think there are people who are, you know, watching this maybe and wondering like, well, gosh, you know, if this is for your PC, why are you grading them? And I think you can make a case either way. I don't think that there's necessarily a right or wrong answer here. But again, this one, I'm less certain about this one. I'm going to put this in the maybe pile, and even that's a little bit subjective. This is all subjective. In general, I think the value of the subset versus the regular base, they tend to be lower. And so I feel like there's less of a potential gain by getting high grades, by getting a 10 on something like this. So I feel like there's less of an incentive to gamble and send it in. So I'll put this in the maybe pile. But I think that you're adding value either way, whether it comes back as a 9 or a 10, you know, and the question is, are you adding more value than the cost of grading? And I do think, like I said, I think a 9 of these cards would probably maybe 50 for this one, maybe 40 for this one. So yeah, you know, I think that's fine. Now this card, this is one I'm super pumped about. This one, I picked this one up just a month or two ago. I never actually got a chance to show it. 96 Pinnacle Skylines. Man, this card, it's just beautiful acetate card. And this one is one of those acetate cards that did not ever yellow. Some of them did yellow from like 94 Donruss. I'll show what that's all about here. This card, I have no idea how they grade these. All I know is that the edges and corners are pretty much always perfect, which means we have to be particularly careful about the surface. And I'm not sure how one goes about judging centering on something like this. I really don't know. So there are a couple, like some of these little things are actually kind of on the card itself, which they don't just brush away. And so I don't really know how that would be handled. Like that little piece of debris or whatever that is, that's just like on there. I'm not about to like scratch it off of there, but speaking of scratches, I probably want to check really carefully about the surface. So I have no idea how they're gonna grade something like this. But honestly, even if this thing comes back like an 8 or something, it's a significant enough card, I think, and there are so few of them graded too that you know, I think it makes sense to have living in a holder, regardless of what that grade is. Okay, so that looks like it might be a teensy little scratch right there, and yeah, just some random like debris. I don't know, tough to say. Very minor scratching there too. And then I'm not really sure what that little staining is there or something. Maybe it's just a print defect. Tough to say. And then right at the bottom we get another little thing that's just stuck to it, I guess. Okay, well, yeah, so I don't know to what degree there is like some random debris that seems stuck to that card. It doesn't really brush off, but really curious what PSA would do to that. Really can't say for sure, but as of now, yeah, I think this will go into the grade pile. And we got a few other rare 90s inserts. We have, this is a 95 Collector's Choice SE, which is the special edition gold signature. These were the 1 per box parallel. And I can't remember if they were this year, if they were 1 in 24 or 1 in 36. I think they were 1 in 36. But they are really tough, really tough condition-wise. And so this particular example that I just got in the other week looked really good. And so let's first check out these corners and edges. And they are just magnificent. And those corners in particular are really tough. While we're here, let's check the surface, make sure we don't have anything too terrible there. I do see, looks like we have a little bit of either a spot there or a little bit of debris. something like that, but it's relatively small. We have one more little spot right there. And I can't really tell, is that a pockmark? I think it is, a little bit of an indent. Huh. Okay, so that's gonna throw it out of a 10. Now it's so tiny, and these cards are so condition sensitive that even still, I think if this can get a 9, we're gonna go ahead and send it. Because this is about as clean a card from an insert set like this that you're ever going to find. And so these corners are looking really nice. Just a little rough cut here, but I'm okay with that. The upper deck rough cut. How about that? And let's check this back surface real quick, just to make sure. Yeah. Yeah, I think we're okay. Yeah, I don't think this is a 10. Little tiny dimple there. I would take it, but it's very not noticeable. I mean, you really do have to look super carefully at that to even notice that. And so some of these inserts, you know, your parallels, they're not all that expensive. Like, you can get this card probably in the $10 range, $10-12, something like that. But trying to find one in like a PSA 9 becomes almost impossible. And so I have to think a PSA 9 for an insert tier like a gold signature would really be quite tough to do. And so this one I feel pretty good about putting in here. We got a couple more of these 90s parallels, tougher parallels. So here's a 97 Studio, and this is a silver press proof. And one more thing I want to point out there too about other cards like this. Like the centering is not perfect on this. Left, right's great. Top, bottom, it's a little bit thicker on top than bottom. But even still, it's better than 60/40. Not like way better than 60/40, but it only has to be better than 60/40 to stay within that tolerance for a 9. So let's take a look at this press proof. Really nice corners. Beautiful here. Nice edge, another good corner. Excellent. Let's go ahead and take a look. Surface, anything there? And nothing really jumping out. This is just a immaculate card. I mean, this looks like a 10 from the front. Let's go ahead and see if we still agree with that assessment on the back. And let's see here. Corners are looking pretty darn good. You know, and a card from 97. I mean, gosh, that's it's almost 30 years old at this point. Jeez. Yeah, I hadn't really appreciated, you know, when a card comes in, when I get a card into my collection, I tend to give it a quick, cursory look over. And then if I think it has potential for greatness as far as grading is concerned, it goes in my to be graded box, you know? So I don't always necessarily file it right away in my collection. I keep it in that box for this exact moment. And at some point in the future, which I hit the record button on, we take a look at it. I mean, boy, that's a clean card. I don't know what the pops would be like for a card like this, but I think I have to go for it. I think there's too much potential for that to actually be legitimately a 10. And so I gotta try for it anyway. Okay, this is a weird one. This is a 96 Leaf, and this is a silver press proof, although it's not labeled that anywhere. I have the rainbow, I have the bronze, the silver, and the gold. The bronze had corner issues. The gold had issues with an edge. And this one seemed like it was the best condition of all three. And so we're gonna take a look at it. And already I see an issue, but let's go ahead and get to that when we get to that. And again, like the other ones, really tough to find good corners on these 90s cards. It really is, and it's just beautiful, beautiful silver press proof. The issue I'm seeing is right there on the surface. There's a little, ooh, get washed out. Yeah, a little, it looks like a pock mark. And I'm not entirely certain. Yeah. Let's check the back real quick. I mean, this is a nice, super clean presenting card. Corners are as they should be, razor sharp. And hopefully we'll find one more small issue in the back. Ooh, is that a scratch? Ooh, that is a scratch. Look at that. Yes, we found the issue. Cool. We don't have to send this in now. Excellent. I was hoping we'd find something. Ooh, ooh, one more pockmark right there by the leg. Yeah, there it is. It's funny. I view this almost like I'm hunting for a reason. Like, give me a reason to not send this card in. Give me a reason to save 20 bucks. You know, and it would probably still come back an 8 or maybe a 7 or something. But boy, it'd be one of those 8s that presents like a 10. Because boy, unless you get it in the light to see that little pockmark or that little scratch on the reverse, you know, you would never know. So anyway, very pleased to be able to put this in the definitely no pile. First edition. And hopefully the first of many. All right, now this card. Okay, if you were watching a few weeks ago, you saw me pull this card, well, not quite live, but really close. And so let's take a look at this thing up close. 94, Bowman's Best, red refractor, Barry Bonds. Now, you know, the big issue with this one, obviously, is the hulking, the surface. And to a lesser extent, the centering is actually tough to gauge on something like this because it looks like it has a very wide right border. But the etching stops. It goes further into the edge, and it doesn't look that wide when you look at the etching. So I don't know. Where do they determine where that centering starts and stops on a card like this? So again, let's look at the corners are all looking immaculate. The edges are just about perfect, as we expect out of chromium cards. The surface, again, should be pretty scratch-free here. That is not a pockmark. That's just part of his helmet right there. So that's just the etching that belongs to this card. And so, yeah, we have a beautiful, it's a pristine surface, scratch-free. The only issue is the hulking on the face. And like I said, compared to so many of these cards that I pulled from that 94 Bowman's Best, those packs, it actually looks way better than a good chunk of those other cards did. Is that a little tiny touch in this corner? Ooh. Man, that's so tiny. If I can get this thing to focus, that's the big if. It's trying. It's trying. It wants to. Come on. Now it's overexposed. Well, in any case, there we go. This is better now. Yeah, and then trying to figure out, ooh, is that a little pockmark right there? Right there. Tiny little pockmark. See, disappears in the other kind of light. Yeah, that is a tiny pockmark. Okay. So yeah, the question is, what will PSA do with hulking to this extent? And now it does look a little bit worse now than I remembered it looking necessarily on the, like when I had just first pulled it. So I don't know. I mean, it's a tough decision. Like I want to see, I would love for that to get a 9. That would be super cool. Something tells me that PSA is going to give this an 8. Something tells me. I think a 9 might be wishful thinking. So believe it or not, I'm going to put this card in the maybe pile. And this might just be a Mag Pro card. So yeah, it goes in the maybe pile. With that pockmark on the back too? I don't know. We'll have to see. All right, now this is a cool one. I pulled out, like I said, I've been a lot of the cards I've been picking up lately have been lower value ones. There were actually 3 cards that Greg Maddux had in this 93 Stadium Club set. And I recently just acquired all the last remaining one I needed to get the 3rd one. This is the one from Series 1. They had Series 1, Series 2, and Series 3. And so let's take a look. But the first day production, this is 1 per box. Parallel. I'm trying to say, is that a little touch on that corner? No, that's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good. Let's keep on looking. Yep, pretty good. Surface. And like the gold signatures, these 1 per box inserts, anything here that could be a 9, I think is a definite send. If I'm feeling pretty good about it being a 9. Ooh, now I like this. See, I can see the embossed stamp of the first day through the card. That's how you know it's authentic. So there was a scam where people would take that little first day issue, first day production stamp and transfer it from a no-name player to a superstar player, you know, because they were actually very, very expensive back in the day. But you can tell if it's embossed all the way through, then we're good. Okay, now is that a ding? Okay, is that a ding in the corner? See, and from this angle, you really can't see it. Like this corner looks great, perfect, so does this one. But this one here has an issue. I think I saw an issue. Now I'm gonna have to get the right light to see it. Ah, right there. Right there. You see that? Yeah, we can't do it. Can't send it. It does come to a razor sharp point. And if all you're, this is like what Brent Richards was talking about with that card. If all you do is look at it through the loop, it's a razor sharp corner. Well, now here's the really funny thing. Should I go ahead and send a card like this in because the way they look at it, it disappears, right? So to them, it'd be a perfect corner, right? They wouldn't see that little issue. But yeah, that's a legit corner ding. This card, there's no way with that issue there it would ever get higher than an 8. It'd probably be a 7. I mean, I couldn't call that near mint. I'd have to call it, or near mint plus rather. I have to call it just near mint, maybe a 7. So yeah, okay. Well, it's a wonderful, beautiful presenting card, but it's not one that we're going to send in to get graded at this time. So we're going to go ahead and put that in the no pile. Okay, and let's move along. Now, this is a card I've considered sending in before, and so I know it's a super clean card. I have looked at it before. I've analyzed it before. This is a fun one. We have a 2001 Topps Chrome. This is a rookie Refractor. And so, really great card. I can tell you the corners are fantastic. The surface is wonderful. There's really nothing concerning on this at all. In fact, it really could be a 10. The only thing that gives me pause on sending a card like this is the same thing that stopped me the last time, which is the back centering. Whoo! Now, what's funny about this is I went ahead and measured it with the centering app, and it puts it just a hair better than 75-25. So 25 on the bottom, 75 on the top. Which I know, looking at it, it looks like it's like 90-10. Like this, our eyes are so sensitive to, at least mine have become more sensitive to centering differences. Let's just check, make sure the corners are okay. And the edges are good, which they are. A little bit there. Let's hold on. What are we doing? Okay. Ooh. Okay. We got a little fraying on the corner. Oh, that's very minimal. You know what? That's still pretty darn good. That just means it won't be a 10. I think the centering, the back centering, PSA does not hammer the back centering. It just doesn't. It doesn't really care much about it. I feel like this is a 9. I don't know. I feel like, and again, technically, it's still within the centering tolerance for a 10, whether they believe it or whether the grader adheres to their own grading standards, which I've had concerns with before. But yeah, I think this one in a 9, I do think it will add more value to the card than the cost of grading it. And so, yeah, I think that this is a yes. Okay, now moving on, we got a Griffey, a really, really cool Griffey. Love this one. This beautiful 95 Pinnacle, Team Pinnacle with a beautiful Dufex. Love that Dufex. There's something special about Dufex with this beautiful teal color of jersey. It's just fantastic. And look at that, Barry Bonds on the back. Griffey and Bonds. Fantastic insert. This is one of my favorite 90s inserts. It just is. Look at it. I mean, it's amazing. Now, Dufex has some other condition things to look out for, and so we've got to really make sure that we're okay here before we want to go ahead and commit to sending this card in. So let's check over. The corners are looking really good. Nice edges. Now, hold on a second. Hold on a second. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Not like, it's not like a razor sharp corner. Definitely looks like it has a bit of a rounded corner almost, but it's not like, it's not a ding, you know, it's certainly not that. Interesting. Yeah, looks okay. Now we got to check the surface, and I know that there's a very small surface issue here. So let's see what we can do and see if we can locate the surface issue. I'm sure you will see it, but it's very small. And I'm just nitpicking because we have to nitpick, because if we don't, the grading companies will. All right, do you see the issue? Can you find the issue? I can. Okay, so if you found it, it's this little thing on his knee. It's a little area where the Dufex etching didn't take. I'd almost call it a little pockmark. It's not, I mean, I guess you call it a pockmark. It's not textured in that one little spot where it should be. And aside from that, it's pretty good. There's also tiny little scratching on this little silver arch of the Mariners logo. Here you can see, you can see them right there. 1, 2, 3, little tiny ones. But that's really nitpicking. But that's what we're doing here. That's the purpose of this video, is to nitpick. And so it's not that I would not send this in, but if I don't think it has a shot at a 9, if I think it's got a legitimate shot, this is one of those, I looked at it, quickly thought it could be somewhere between an 8 or a 9. Now, on my last predictions, I kind of, I was only 1 for 6 with my predictions, but I was off almost all the ones I was wrong about. I was overly harsh, and they went ahead and gave it to me. Okay, so here we have a back corner that we have a little issue with. Right there. Ah, yes. Okay. So yeah, we've got the definite, call it a touch of white, call it a slight rounding under the loop. We can see that. But without that, it's a, yeah, it's a touch of white. So I don't know, man. It's a super pretty card, super clean card. I feel like with that corner, I feel like this is an 8. I feel like that's what they would give me on that. Now, obviously, you know, depending on the grader, depending on the day, would they do that? I don't know. I don't believe an 8 would really increase the value of this anymore. I think if I were, I don't want to sell this card, but if I were to sell it, I would just put really, really good pictures up there. And I think that those amazingly sharp corners and I think that it speaks for itself. I'm going to put this in the maybe pile. If I knew it could get a 9, I'd definitely send it. I'm not sure it can with that corner. All right, one more from this first day production. This is the other card. One of 3 from that first day production. The first series we looked at earlier, he was card number 2 and depicted on the Cubs. Series 2 and Series 3, he was switched over to a Braves uniform. And with this, I have a hard time telling whether or not these red dots are part of the picture or print defects. There's a red dot there, and there's another red dot there. I can't really tell. Is that a fisheye? Gosh, that's tiny. That one looks like it's a fisheye. Interesting. Right next to his... Huh. All right, I had not noticed that before, but let's keep on looking. So to me, that corner, I mean, it's a nice sharp corner, but when you look at it, that little touch becomes a little bit bigger. I mean, that's still a pretty darn good corner. But if it's a pretty darn good corner that they're going to hammer on condition, and even this one has a little, ooh, I might just have to not send this one. Oh, there's my light. Nah, it's actually pretty good. See, this is what I mean. I'm being overly harsh with some of these cards. You know what? I might just not send this. Let me see the back. Give me one other reason why not to send this card. Again, that same corner, little issue on the back there. Let me get this focused. There we go. Now we got the focus in there. And I'm trying to see, is there anything else? Is that a scratch on his? Yeah, right there. Very light scratch on the back. I mean, that's super light. But the other part of the issue is, too, this is not, it's not an expensive card. This is, yeah, oh, look at that. It looks like underneath here in the innings pitched, there's a little surface thing that's in the card. Okay. Well, I don't know. I feel like this is a really, really good looking 8. That's what I think this becomes if we send it in. And I don't know. An 8 is a nice card, but it's not going to have the kind of value bump that we would need to justify sending a lower value card like this $10, $15 card. Yeah, it's just not going to be it. So we're going to go ahead and put this in the no pile with the other first day issue, first day production. Okay, now this one's kind of funny. I remember taking this out, and so far, none of the cards, I don't think any of them so far have been 10s. But I remember thinking that this one could be. In fact, I believe thinking that this one should be a 10. And so this is a 96 score, and it looks like it's a dugout collection because it does say dugout collection on it, but this is the artist proof version. So dugout collection was like, it was one of those that was maybe one in every 4 packs or one in every 6 packs, something like that. The artist proof, though, was like 1 per box. So way tougher, 1 in 36, something like that. So let's take a look at this card and see if I still think that this could be a 10. Let's get the... Okay, so we have... Now it looks like there's an issue in the corner there, but it really isn't. It's the foil. When this card is cut, the edges of the foil come up like that. And so what looks like a touch of white here on camera is really just, I don't know, it's the way the card is cut. I don't know how else to convey that, but it really is. So corners, edges, centering, they're all great. It has effectively a perfect surface. This is a funny card because I almost feel like this almost fits into that same category as I graded a Hobby Masters in one of my previous orders from 97 tops. And we'll look for the surface here first. And it was funny to grade that card because it's like a $2 card. And like, in general, I would not advocate for anyone to grade $2 cards. It does not make sense to take a $2 card and put it in a $20 holder. That just doesn't, oh, that made it way worse. Let's try it again. Come on, help me out here. There we are. But I was so confident that it was going to come back a 10, and it did. And I was able to sell it for over $100. And I kind of feel like that's sort of the situation with this one. It's not that expensive. You can get this artist proof for probably $8, you know, plus shipping. It's not an expensive card, but I do believe, I think only one has ever been graded. And so, you know, non-existent pops really, and because who grades this? But this particular one, I feel like I have to, because I feel so confident that no other grade than a 10 makes sense for this card. Exclusively. Every other card on here has issues, has problems. This one, I can't find a single one. So we're going to go ahead and send it off. And we'll see what some random grader thinks on one given day at PSA. All right, so likewise, this is, speaking of cards that really should not be graded, this is, this is a first pitch preview from 94. It looks like it's 94 Bowman, but it is not. It is a first pitch preview card. So let's take a look at these. Really great corners. That'll touch on the corner there. Right as I say, really great corners. I'm like, is that a touch? Is that a touch? Ooh. Well, let's find out. Ooh, it's yeah, there's something on there. Interesting. Very interesting. Well, let's keep on going. And again, it shouldn't have to take much. Ooh, and it is okay. Is that not okay? That corner looks pretty good, but this one. Okay, where are we? No, that's pretty good. Let me see this one real quick. Well, maybe I won't be sending this one. I was gonna say this one. I feel like it would have to. Oh, okay. All right, I already see it. Well, there's the Superstar Sampler logo, and right next to it is just a tiny little chip. You see a little chip in the card. Came loose on the edge. And so, despite it being a super great condition card, this is one of those cards where it would have to be basically a 10. It's not an expensive card. Although Superstar samplers are tricky to find, it's true, but that little piece is just coming loose. All right, we're going to switch this to the no pile. Really glad to find something actually that puts this one out of the running, out of contention for a, oh yeah, gosh, you can see it right there coming off the side. Look at that. Ooh, right there. Okay, well, this is why we this is why we look them over. We don't know necessarily what's going on there. And this is why we check our cards, folks. Again, $20 is a very expensive holder for a $3 to $5 card. If we're going to do that, let's make sure we have a legitimate shot at a 10, because this one ain't it. Goes in the no pile. Okay, this is one I've thought about grading before. Beautiful 94 leaf limited Griffey, and this is the gold all-stars. So first of all, I love this set design. This is not a perfect card. I got a hair trapped in there. And another one. Really, this is like super condition sensitive. The corners are impossible, and the surface is hypersensitive, kind of like the Jeter 93 SP. And so really, a card like this in a 9 would command over $100. So that's all we're looking for. We're not looking for gem mint, but look at these corners. Look at those corners. Are fantastic. Wow. Wowee. Now, again, like I said, the surface is tricky though. And so we got to really watch for any kind of a surface blemish that we've got going on here. I don't really see much. I guess there's a little bit on the bottom edge right there under the G of Griffey. I don't know what's going on there. And maybe just a couple little tiny, like little micro scratches. Gosh, really small ones. Now, I will say there are a couple issues with corners on the back. They are small. The corners do come to points, as we can see. Here and here and here and there. But again, under magnification, if we look at this, it's not perfect. It does have a little issue. The question is it, here, let me move this stack of yes cards. There we go. The question is it good enough to get the 9? Not the 10, the 9. Is this still considered, if that'll focus, there we are. That's pretty good. Is this still considered a mint card? That's the question. See, there's a touch. Yeah, there is a touch on that corner. It's not a perfect card. I never claimed it to be one, but there's so few 9s out there that even with that, you know, and the front of the card, I don't know. I don't, I'm probably going to put this in the maybe pile for now. Nothing is too conclusive about that. I've had this card before in a maybe pile, and I think it's going to go back into the maybe pile. All right, next one we have 96 Topps Gallery, and this is Player's Private Issue. And so this one is limited, I believe, serial numbered out of 750. So tougher parallel. And again, the production quality on these cards is astoundingly good. And so these corners and edges are really strong, really sharp, high gloss. I believe there was a, where was it? There was a really small surface thing. And the question is always, well, how tough they're going to hammer you on a small surface issue. I can't really even find it now. I don't know. Maybe it was on the back. I also wonder too, if there is a surface issue on the back, do they, like with back centering, they don't really care as much about that on the back. Let's look at the corners first though. Yeah, it's a really strong presenting card. There's your 654. I think it's out of 750. I would have to double check that. with Baseball Cardpedia, but I'm pretty sure that's right. Or if it's not, it's really close. I thought for sure there was some small... It's funny though, it's like if it takes me, you know, longer than whatever, longer than 30 seconds, up there's the embossing of the first day issue stamp from the front. Also a good sign. If it takes me longer than that to find. Okay, now here's an interesting thing. Okay, I hadn't noticed this until this very minute. And maybe I'm... Gosh, and I'm not sure if you can even see this on camera. So the photos on the back have extra gloss than the rest of the card. There's more gloss on the photos than the rest of it. You can't really see it that well, but there just is. And I'm noticing that there are little, almost spiderweb wrinkles across the photo of this particular photo. And I don't know if this is something that can be seen. Gosh, that doesn't even translate that well. Huh. Yeah, look where the light, the border between no light and the light, and you'll start to see just ever so slightly. Like, is that something they're going to hammer for surface? Ooh. And it's kind of all over that picture. Huh. Really weird. Okay, well, I did not find the issue I thought I had remembered seeing, but I found a different one. Well, in any case, this is another one of those sort of lower value parallels that, yeah, well, I'll put it in the maybe pile. Yeah, I just don't know. I don't know. I'll have to think about it. All right, $20 is a rather expensive holder to have this in, you know, all things being considered. I'm trying to remember, I think this was the very first year of Topps Gallery. And so it's a pretty cool limited parallel, but we'll put it in the maybe pile. All right, this is a cool one. This is one, oh, I like that one coming up too. But oh boy, this one's black refractor, 03 chrome. This was one of my hobby goals for this year, was to finish out our Topps Chrome Refractor run with these two black refractors. I got the 03 taken care of here. Still looking for the 02, by the way, if you happen to see that anywhere. Okay, now that is actually inside the penny sleeve. This one is, ooh. Well, we gotta clean that out. That won't do. No, get out of here. Okay. Okay, so super nice card, super clean card. Let's take a look at it. Centering is not fantastic, but it's within a lot of good tolerances. It's even though it's thicker on the right, you know, it's still within 60-40, and that's what we look for. So again, we don't need this to be a 10. I don't think this is a 10. Let's check the surface real quick. We're looking for scratches, looking for blemishes, looking for anything out of the ordinary. And I'm not really seeing much here. This is a good sign. Now, I remember there being some issues with some of the back corners. Okay, so this is numbered out of 199, as we can see. And yeah, it looks like, to me, like the back corners, every single one of them has something very small, like the very slightest of touches. This is the bigger touch that I've seen, and the edge right there. There's something, and there. Like every corner. Let's start with the little tiny ones. Yeah, see, there you couldn't see it really until it's up under magnification, but they're going to have magnification, so it looks like a really great corner at first. Yep, it's got a little touch. Same with this one. This one also, yeah, that's better than it looked, but I'm worried about this one. This one seems to be the worst of the offenders. Yep. And there was some some edge wear right there. So like if a card has that, is it going to get a mint 9? Is that a mint card that has that? Now it is very small. It's easy to lose sight when you zoom in and you're like, oh, that's a lot of damage. It's like, well, is it really? It's, I mean, it's something. It's a flaw for sure. So yeah, no 10s. But again, like that one thing in isolation, I think would take it down to, I mean, a 9 I think would be generous, but then this corner's got that touch also. And I think you have multiple touches of white like that. I think this is now an 8. And it kind of hurts because, you know, it's a bigger card for sure. Now it doesn't, the condition doesn't particularly bother me. And I think it doesn't bother me because it's on the back. You know, none of that corner wear stuff is on the front. And this card almost is to the point, I think I paid just about 100 for it. Maybe 115, something like that. And so it's almost big enough to go ahead and put in a holder regardless of grade. But I think for now, we're going to go ahead and Mag Pro this. I'll put it in the maybe pile, but I think with those two back corners the way they are. Now, the only counterpoint to this is I almost felt the same way about that red X-Fractor I sent in last time, the 2004 Chrome. I thought for sure that was probably going to come back an 8, and it came back a 9. And so I got either lucky or the grader was in a good mood that day. So I think I am going to put it in the maybe pile. We'll see. We'll see how expensive this order is going to become. Oh boy, Frank Thomas, 95 Pinnacle White Hot. This is a great card. This is a fantastic card. I love this set. This is one of those sets that I'm putting together a flight, if you will. Flight collecting. I like that. I heard that the other day on YouTube. I forget whose video was discussing that, but I loved it. It's phenomenal. I don't need to collect the whole set. You know, I don't need a Tim Salmon 95 Pinnacle White Hot. Or Roberto Alomar, you know, even though the color match is pretty nice. But look at this beauty. It's kind of hard to see with the black against there, but let's look at the corners and the edges on the front. They look really, really great. And now we got to check the surface. And again, Dufex does have some other interesting surface things that can happen here. And so already I do see, I can't tell if the spots next to the Pinnacle logo up here, I think that might be the same splashes we see in the background. That might actually be part of the design. Yeah, it's not a pockmark or a divot or anything. It's smooth. It's part of the actual card design. That makes me feel better. I thought those were just print marks, but I think that's actually part of the design of the card. So that makes me feel better. I'm not seeing any scratches or anything. I mean, dang, that's pretty good. Let's look at the back. I recall the back had the back edges of these are always impossible. Back corners and back edges. And so looking at this one, looks, I mean, really good to me. There's a little touch, maybe. But again, it's hard to say what shows up as a touch versus what is just the edge, the shiny edge meeting the foil board. Like these look like there's a touch of white on there. I'm not actually sure that there is. Yeah, I guess there is just a little touch on one back corner, maybe. But again, it still comes to a point. So is that just the shiny foil edge? And then let's go across to the other corner. Yeah, yeah, gosh, I mean, that's, like from this angle, that's a sharp corner. Like that touch of white goes away because that's just the foil board, right? And almost the same with this too. You know, like the whole edge, like from this angle, the touch goes away. Like, is it still even a touch? I don't know. Well, regardless, I think this card is good enough to send. I feel validated by pulling this one out. I think I have to send this in. It's a beautiful card, and you know the price I bought it for. I think if this comes back at 10, this is now a $100 card, and I only paid about 40 for it. So yeah, let's go ahead and send this. And I feel pretty good about this being a 9. I think that's what this is. And so let's go ahead and have it earn its potential. That feels good. Let's put that in the yes pile. Okay, we're down to our last 3. This is a cool one. It's our 2000 Stadium Club. And this is the Triumvirate Luminescent. And so this one's going to be very delicate. Tough card to get here. And a lot of crazy corners and laser cuts and refractors and all this. Okay. Now, wow. Yeah, it's a beautiful card. Let's check the surface here. Yeah, looking pretty darn good. There's a little tiny, is that a little debris next to the X? Maddox. Just can't tell that little tiny spot. Well, it's no matter. Yeah, it looks like there might be a tiny pock mark on his neck. Right there. Yep, right there. I mean, it's really small. And again, it does not impact the overall appearance of this really wild card. Okay, let's look at the back. Yep. And yep. All these corners are looking surprisingly good, even that super sharp one. There's something just impressive about having corners, that many die-cut corners, that sharp, without any wear on them. And all right, let's check out the wow. And this edge here, this is just what happens when they make these cards. Oh, interesting. Okay, so here's something maybe. So these are laser cuts in here. And it looks to me, I'm wondering if one of these laser cut stripes got just a little bit of a bend in it. And the one I'm looking at is at the bottom here. It's the lowest one that is here. And if you take a look, right in the sort of left side of the middle, right there. Gosh, that is so... And I'm looking at one other bend, potentially here. But you can only see it in the right light. So I'm going to try to position right there. And I want to look at these under here and see, because I can't tell if this is going to either highlight it or make it go away. I can't even tell where it is now. All right, so we're looking right at the edge of where that die cut ends, so that laser cut ends. So yeah, it looks like under magnification, oh, there it is. under the right light. Ooh, lost it. Oh, I had it for a second there. Man. Okay, well, you know what? I think either way, I mean, this is a super pretty card, but I think there's something going on there that it presents so well. But also value-wise, I don't really know what a 9 would do to it. There is there was an Illuminator CSG9 that's on eBay. It's been listed on eBay for 30 bucks. And this is the Luminescent. It's the one tier down, which I think looks better. But I think I'm going to put this in the no pile. I think I'm just going to say no thank you to this one. Gorgeous card. But let's go ahead and pass on that one for now. So great, we get to save 20 bucks. Okay, this one, you may remember this from the last one. And this one, I had thought for sure it was going to be a 10 the first time I looked at it. And then the second time, there was a small, just enough flaws that maybe not. And so I want to revisit this because I was wrong about almost all the grades last time. And so we're down to our last two cards. What I remember about this is that there was a small, very small surface scratch on the front, if I remember that correctly. But basically the corners and edges are perfect. This is a 05 Topps Finest X-Fractor, I believe is numbered to 250. Let's take a look. Yep, there is the numbering. And I think there was a touch on a corner. If I can even tell which corner. Maybe it's this one. But yeah, let's take a look and see what we can find out. I think it was one of these bottom corners. Yep, just a touch. Very small. That one too. And let me see if I can find, I mean, gosh, if it was really minor. And because, you know, Maddox, just like Griffey, you know, his stuff that's more expensive is in the Braves uniform, just like Griffey's more expensive stuff is a Mariner, depicted as a Mariner. And I actually don't see any of these scratches. This is a really nice card. And honestly, this is probably a 9. You know, this is probably, honestly, it's a 9, I think. And I'm not sure what a 9 would, you know, what the value would be on that. My collecting, basically, I stick to just Maddox and the Braves uniforms for the most part. You know, on the off chance it would get a 10, I don't think it would get a 10, to be honest with you, but crazier things have happened, you know, that'd be nice. But I'd like to think if it came back a 9, I wouldn't lose any money on it, so it's kind of free rolling at this point. So yeah, a 9 might just make me back the cost of grading, but hey, if there's definitely a non-zero chance of a 10 here. I don't think it's super high, like 20% or lower, but you know, maybe 10%. But yeah, I think we should probably go ahead and do it. Okay, and the last one we have is a card from my daughter. It is a Pokemon card that she got recently. We were on the beach and Ocean City. She opened up a few packs, and this Mantike came out of it. And it seems to be one of those cards. It's about $20-25 raw, but in a 10 sells for like 90 or 100. So we're gonna look at this thing. It's really well centered, as most Pokemon cards are. And so there's not much to see about the corners because they're all rounded anyway. But let's check the back, because the back for edge chipping becomes a big deal. Back centering is a bit heavier on the right than the left. But, and I'm not sure how their back centering tolerances relate to sports cards. I don't know if their condition standards are exactly the same. I'm not quite sure how that would work anyway. But appears to be a beautiful card. Let's check the surface real quick just to make sure. No scratches. And really there shouldn't be, because it's, well, it was just pulled. I mean, I watched it pulled out of the pack. So yeah, I think we're pretty good to go here as far as that's concerned. So I think we will send that. That'll be in a different order, because you can't combine TCG and sports cards in one. But that's it. Okay, and there's one more card that I had forgot to include before. This was a card that I picked up actually with my brother was in town recently, and we went to an LCS and found this in a dollar box or a dollar bin. So it's really cool. It's a $98 signature proof. It's sort of like a press proof that they would have had there. Not serial numbered, but it's limited to a print run of 150. In fact, it says on there one of, if it will focus, one of 150. So yeah, pretty exclusive. So Mark McGwire, and of course it's not just a McGwire card, but it's a McGwire card from 1998, which, well, that's just extra special and extra cool. So let's go ahead and take a look at it and see what we can see. Move this light a little bit here. And yeah, we're just going to check over some of these corners. Got the edges there. Oh, that's a little overexposed. There we go. But the card does look really sharp. I'm trying to figure out if there's this edge. Just making sure it's. And now let's look at it with the light on it. Make sure we don't have any dents, pock marks, scratches. We know the drill. Is there something going on with the edge down here? You might have to get this. Isn't that amazing? Under the loop, some things almost want to disappear. Well, let's check the back real quick. See how we're doing there. Yeah. Yeah, I tell you what, all the edges and corners look pretty darn good here. I mean, I feel like this is probably a 9. Again, let's check the surface on the back here. I don't know if there's little pock mark. You know, is it a pock mark or just a couple little? I mean, it's really faint. Yeah, that's not gonna matter. I've had much bigger flaws still come back with 10s. Yeah, I feel like there might be something wonky going on with that very bottom edge a little bit. It's like not really a rough cut. But even if that takes it, you know, out of 10 consideration, I think a card that's this limited, of a guy that's this popular, from the 90s, from his magical season, yeah, I feel like a 9. I feel like this card probably, it feels like it's about a $20 card, probably. It was in this like dollar bin. I got it for like $3. And I feel like, you know, a card that's $25 ungraded, you put that into a PSA 9. I feel like that's probably $50-$60 maybe 70 even. I mean, for the right guy. I mean, 70 wouldn't that be a funny number for this guy in that year? But I feel like it would add value beyond just the cost of grading. So I feel like, yeah, we can go ahead and add this to the grading stack. And yeah, we'll come right back with what our final choices are, what we're actually going to send. Okay, so here's my decisions about which cards made the cut. I originally had pulled this out saying I was going to go ahead and grade this one, but honestly, with that extra little bit that we had in this corner, I know it's not going to be a 10. And so I feel like it's got an upper cap at a 9, and I'm just not convinced that there's enough reason to go through doing that. I love it that it's peeled. It's basically perfect card other than that weird extra little thing on the corner. I think I'm going to hold off on this one for now. Probably just put it in a Mag Pro. And so I've decided to save some money that way. This card, I just took a look at this Maguire signature proof. I think this is going to be a 9, and so I'm going to put some predictions for grades here. As bad as my predictions were before, we're going to go for it again. So I'm going to say 8s, 9s, 10s. I think this is going to be a 9. Yeah, I could be wrong. Probably am wrong, but that's what we're going to go for here. This one here, I think, is somewhere between a 9 and a 10. I think it's probably going to get a 9, but still going to go for it. This card, I'm a little concerned about the hulking in the face. I am a little bit worried that it will be an 8. I'm hoping for the 9. I'm going to put it in the 8 category just to sort of temper my expectations a bit. Here, let me move this camera, this light a little bit. There we are. So I'm a little concerned that it will not come back a 9. I think it has potential to come back a 9. I pulled this myself not that long ago. Thanks, Iconic Cow. This one here, I feel pretty confident this is going to be a 9. It's a really clean card. Tough to get one that's quite that old that's doing that. This card here, I also think is probably an 8. The centering is distinctly off. It's out of the contention for a 10. Even as off as this is, it's still better than 60-40, believe it or not. Although it's flirting with that, it's right on the cusp of that particular tolerance. But the corners, there's a couple of corners on the back that are just a little dubious for these cards, and so it's somewhere between. I could hope for the 9, but probably it's an 8. This one got me excited because I saw nothing at all wrong with this card. And so this one actually has, I think, 10 potential, which is rare for me to say with 90s cards. This one, again, I hoping for the 9. It's probably going to be an 8, though, if I'm being honest. This card, again, excites me. These are both kind of cheapy cards. Both of these are, basically less than $10 each, or between 5 and 10, I would say. But like this press proof, I saw nothing at all wrong with this artist proof, this Dugout Collection artist proof. So I'm tentatively putting it as it's a possible 10. For the third time, I don't know what this is going to come back as. I don't really have a ton of experience grading acetate cards in general. I don't typically send those in. I have much more experience grading refractor cards, chromium cards. So this is a little bit out of my purview. It's not a perfect card. There are some irregularities, some little debris in this clear acetate, but it's not hulked out or anything. And corners look pretty good, and edges are was plastic, and so the surface looks I don't know. I wouldn't be too surprised if it comes back an 8. I'm hoping for the 9. So once again, we'll put something there. This Frank Thomas looks really clean to me. I think this card is clean enough to come back a 9, and I hope we will get that. This card, the back centering is so bad on it, but technically is still within that 25-75 tolerance for reverse centering that keeps it within the 10 range. So if PSA is accurate with their own standards, technically it could be this. I don't think they're going to give it to me. I think they're going to give me a 9. And so if I'm wrong, and they give me that's awesome. And then this card here, this Mantike, it was just pulled and looks just about perfect to me. This will be in a separate 1-card TCG order for my daughter. But it looks really good. I don't see anything why. The center on the back isn't perfect. It's a little bit heavier on the right than left, a little bit heavier on the bottom than on the top. But again, reverse centering, is that really something? Do they have a different standard for TCG than they do for sports cards? I don't know. I should probably do some research before I send it. But anyway, she wanted me to go ahead and send this in, and I see nothing wrong with it. So anyway, that's what we're gonna do. Is it going to be a 10? Is it going to be... I really couldn't even say. I'm hoping for the 10. But, but we'll see. So, anyway, thank you for coming along for my listening to my voice drone on endlessly about little things, about weird little condition things, imperfections in cards, studying them. But this is the kind of thing that I enjoy doing. This is sort of a zen, relaxing thing for me to do, to look at cards. I love doing it. It's the summertime. I have time to to do this, and it's a lovely way that I enjoy engaging with my collection, looking at my cards, engaging with the hobby. Without short of actually just buying cards, looking at them and considering which ones are worthy, make the cut, which ones don't. And I don't know, and maybe you can take something away from this. Maybe this is something that you do before you send cards off. Maybe you just send cards off because you like them in the holder. That's fine. But for me, I'd like to more carefully consider and take a little guess, educated guess at what I'm going to get back here. And yeah, some of these 8s, hopefully 1 or 2 of these end up in this pile, and hopefully 1 or 2 of these end up in this pile, and for all we know, these cards might end up in this pile. Who knows? When it's all said and done, we'll have to see what happens. I do have a larger quantity of cards that are 8 potentials instead of 9s or 10s. But look, we'll see, and chances are out of all these cards, we might get a 6 or a 7 come back anyway. That's what tends to happen with a lot of these. But time will tell. And so yeah, thanks for bearing. If you're still watching this after how many hours this has been, going on 1.5 hours almost. My hat's off to you. But thanks for coming along for the very lengthy ride, and I will see you in the next one.